Are you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Pig heart. So, this is the front side of the pig heart. I lied. This is the front side of the pig heart. This is the back side. The back side is a big mess with a bunch of fat tissue and vessels and bleh. I'm not even looking at it. Front side is pretty simple. There's three things to see. There's a big auricle up here at the top. There's an interventricular groove that is like a sash across the heart. The groove contains the coronary vessels, like anterior interventricular artery and great cardiac vein. You don't have to know those, but you should know the groove. They're just way inside there, and so we're not going to bother to pick them out. And then there's a vessel at the top that's sort of diagonal. My fingers in. That's the pulmonary trunk. So like on the human heart model, there's a diagonal big vessel in the front, pulmonary trunk over there, pulmonary trunk here. So from the front, I could only ask three things: pulmonary trunk, auricle, interventricular groove. I'll say it before I forget. This little yellow membrane on the outside of the heart, teeny tiny, hard to pick out. That's the epicardium, also known as visceral pericardium. And then from there, let's do the big heart first. There's three walls. 1, 2, 3. So this is the thickest wall, so this must be the left ventricle, because the left ventricle has to work really hard to take all that blood out to the body. And it's a big body, so it's pretty far. This is the thinnest wall, because it belongs to the right ventricle, and the right ventricle doesn't have to work that hard to pump blood right over here to the lungs. So left ventricular wall made of myocardium, right ventricular wall made of myocardium, and the one down the middle is the interventricular septum. So it literally means wall between the ventricles. Septum means wall. And because it shares a wall with the left ventricle, that's why it's so thick. So right ventricle, kind of puny, can't tell much about it. There's stuff in there, but we'd have to dive for it. And, you know, it's not obvious, so right ventricle, that's really all we're going to say about it. Left ventricle is super obvious. So we can see, you know, this giant muscle here. So the muscles only found in the ventricles that are attached to the cords, those muscles are the papillary muscles. So a huge one here, a tiny one here that kind of looks like a cone. So papillary muscles in the left ventricle attached to tendinous cords, also called chordae tendineae. Go with whatever you can remember. The cords are attached to the valve. So the valves are these shiny, thicker, they're not that thick. They're strong but thin right up here. And it kind of looks like a funnel to take the blood down into the ventricles. So it's on the left side, it's the bicuspid valve, aka mitral valve. Anything above the valve is going to be the atrium. So this is the left atrium. And it's not a huge room because it doesn't collect the blood. It just kind of, it's a meeting place for the blood before it goes into the left ventricle. So blood comes in, falls into the ventricle. This one has really good pectinate muscles. So all these chunky muscles up here that look like tree roots are the pectinate muscles. Pectinate's only in the atria. Papillary's only in the ventricles. It's kind of an important difference. From the left ventricle, we can follow it up to here and here. So left ventricle leads to the aorta. This is the back wall of the aorta. And it's been cut, but you've got the inside wall of the aorta here. So it's really thick and muscular. It almost feels like cartilage, but it's not. It's just a lot of smooth muscle. Biggest vessel in the body. At the bottom of that, or the entryway, is the aortic semilunar valve. So really thin, but super strong, because I haven't torn one yet. Like, could lift the heart with it. So there's probably more to this valve. It's on the other side of the heart. This is just one little flap of that semilunar valve. Let's see. Right ventricle, the right atrium's going to be hidden up under there, so I'm not even going to bother with it. Aorta. pulmonary trunk. Shall we do this heart? Looks a little different, but still, like the left side is super obvious. Right ventricle's over here. We can see a valve. So that's going to be the tricuspid valve. Still has the tendinous cords. Here's the left ventricle. Papillary muscle, tendinous cords. Bicuspid valve. Like this is a good view. Bicuspid valve over here. Left atrium's above that. So that's left atrium. Not convincing like that, but a little more convincing that it would hold some blood that way. All the muscle formations up there, pectinate muscles. Here's a decent aorta. So it's cut, but I can put this inside of it, and that would be the aorta. The aortic semilunar valve is at the bottom. Here. There. So this aorta looks pretty good. The semilunar valve looks okay. Right side looks okay. Better than that right side. Right ventricle would be here. And again, like it's all collapsed here. It doesn't look like, right atrium. It doesn't look like an atrium or a chamber. But once you kind of fill it out and pretend there's some blood in there, it's small, but it works. Back side of the heart, particle. And that's about it. We identified myocardium, the muscular wall. That's it.